Apparently, God has a bank. To date, a very few individuals know the truth about this organization. Many have speculated, but few have found evidence that proves what goes on behind closed doors or what little is known of this enigmatic organization called the Roman Catholic Church. And apparently, a small group of cardinals within the church called God's bankers answer directly to the Pope. Most people in the world aren't even aware of the fact that the Vatican controls and manages a bank. It's possible that this bank is the most secret bank in the world, and what's even more shocking is that this bank has ties to the CIA, the Mafia, and even Hitler. Hi, and welcome back to another video of Finance Sense, where we cover all the latest trends in the financial markets and the economy. The Vatican Bank, also known as the IOR, Institute for Works of Religion, was founded in 1942 to safeguard and administer property intended for works of religion or charity. The bank only accepts deposits only from top church officials and entities. The bank has been criticized for its secrecy over the years and vowed to be more open with its dealings and interworking, but it has stayed the same for years until recently due to outside pressures to be more open. Do you believe the church is really making changes to how it operates? Do you think a religious organization whose mission is purportedly to help the poor ought to be so wealthy? Before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and if you're new to this channel, subscribe and turn on the notification bell to stay updated with our videos. Now, let's get on to the video. To give you a background on how the Vatican and its bank have had an intriguing history with money, we must go back to the very beginning of this narrative before we can explore what is going on with the Vatican Bank and money today. The Vatican and its bank dates back to 1929, or about 100 years ago. Benito Mussolini, dictator of Italy, donated nearly $90 million to the Catholic Church in 1929. However, this wasn't really a donation, but it was essentially a bribe. Mussolini gave it to the Pope to legitimize his fascist Italian regime and gather support from the country's predominantly Catholic population. In addition to giving the church money, Mussolini donated 109 acres of land in Rome to use for whatever it pleased. This land is now known as the Vatican. Essentially, the Catholic Church already had its own country. All it needed was a bank of its own, which would eventually become the world's most secretive institution. During the height of World War II, Pope Pius established the Vatican Bank in 1942. Its official name is the Institute for the Works of Religion, or IOR for short, and it was created with the goal of being as secret as possible. Within the sovereign state, the bank is a sovereign institution, an organization that receives practically no oversight from the outside or the Vatican. As a result, it can never be obliged to make up for any wrongdoings it may have committed or to release any of its deposits. Only a small group of cardinals serves as its administrators, and they answer only to the Pope. Unlike almost every other bank, it has hardly ever released an annual report or a yearly statement of a bank's assets, earnings, and balance, a fact that continued until 2013. Even in the early days, when the IOR's first annual report was released to the public, there was already a lot of controversy around it, probably as a result of how it began and the original reasons it was established. NPR reported that the IOR may have been established during the war to conceal the church's dealing with the Nazis, something it may have sought to keep hidden from the US and UK. Based on this report, it also allegedly benefited directly from the Holocaust by holding life insurance policies for Jews who died in these heinous acts and then refusing to pay the family members after the war for the simple reason that the descendants couldn't provide death certificates, which the Vatican probably knew was impossible under the circumstances. As a result, the bank's controversy persisted until the 1970s. An 18-month FBI investigation revealed that the New York mob intended to sell the IOR almost $1 billion in fake bonds. And the Vatican Cardinal planned to use his bonds as collateral for securing funding for the church. Apparently, the IOR assisted the Italian mafia in laundering billions of dollars. First, they transferred the church's funds into high-risk accounts with the aid of banker Calvi, and purchased a majority stake in the Italian bank Ambrosiano, enabling the mob's banks and businesses to circumvent financial audits. Following inspections, they would take the money out immediately, with the bank keeping a cut of this money. This cut was essentially a percentage payment for assisting in money laundering, and because of the bank's secrecy laws, Italy's elites utilized it as a safe haven for their wealth for many years. Moving on to the present, according to a 2012 study by Moneyval, the Council of Europe's anti-money laundering body, it appears that the IOR is still engaging in interesting activities today. The IOR is allegedly one of the top money laundering organizations in the world under Pope Francis, and claiming that the bank's transparency was substantially lacking and that there were no policies in place to prevent the financing of terrorism. Additionally, after 35 years of partnership, investment bank JP Morgan severed ties with the Vatican Bank in 2012 by closing its U.S. bank account. This, it seems, was due to JP Morgan's suspicions. The Vatican refused to disclose transactions, and the IOR account was also used for money laundering. This should tell a lot about how shady the Church's bank was acting, given that JP Morgan is a bank that was fined $2.5 billion for failing to disclose Bernie Madoff's shady operations and maintaining a connection with him since he was allegedly valuable to the bank. Meanwhile, in 2013, a Vatican priest was caught attempting to smuggle 20 million euros out of Switzerland on a private plane with the aid of a Secret Service agent who would be immune from having to declare the money at the border. The priest reportedly used the church to help the Sicilian mafia launder money. He also had a long history of flaunting money and was known as Monsignor Cinquecento because of his tendency to carry 500 euro bills around with him. Going back to the donation from Mussolini, the IOR and the Church worked very hard to maintain its secrecy throughout the years while they built a huge property empire. Over the years, Mussolini's nest egg has risen in value thanks to the Church. Some estimate its current value to be $600 million, while others place it at $1 billion or higher. The money was used to buy some of the world's most prestigious real estate, including upscale retail spaces used by luxury brands like Bulgari and an entire residential block in Paris and Switzerland. And the Church has taken all possible measures to keep these purchases a complete secret. According to an article published by The Guardian, the Church set up complex networks of companies, trusts, and estates to make it difficult to trace its ownership and utilized offshore tax havens to conceal its involvement in this real estate empire. Additionally, anyone associated with this empire, including the Catholic Church and any associated accounts or administrators, has little to say about the subject when asked. This brings us to the situation right now. The good news is that the Church appears to be significantly changing how it manages its money. But for others, these adjustments are simply insufficient. Pope Francis has pledged to change the IOR's economic practices during the past 10 years, working with authorities to increase the IOR's transparency and conform to international money laundering regulations. However, progress has been extremely slow. After a decade, Moneyval has declared that the IOR will now be subject to regular audits and has claimed that the bank is becoming more compliant with international standards, with its most recent assessment as generally positive and claiming that the Church now appears to recognize risks. However, there are still red flags that the Church's bank might be misused, particularly by a senior church or bank insiders who might take advantage of the system for their own benefit. The Pope, however, has promised that the Church would have clean finances in the future and recently gave the order for all church departments to return any movable assets to the Vatican so that they will be directly under the jurisdiction of the IOR. Even though it has been stated that this step will give the Church even more centralized control over its assets, the Church may not yet be in the clear when it comes to real estate. This change is intended to offer the papacy more oversight. Moreover, although the Catholic Church appears to be making a commitment to turn a new page with Pope Francis' declaration that he wants to build a poor church for the poor, a high-end London property was the focus of a significant corruption scandal just this year. However, the IOR's profits have significantly declined since becoming more open and transparent. It appears that we have reached the end of this video. Thank you for watching this far. Please subscribe, give a like if you enjoyed it, and comment your thoughts below. This is Finance Sense, helping you keep up with all the latest trends in the financial markets and the economy. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.